Thank you. So different hat this time, Fundingpartner, the only lending platform towards businesses that is here today. And just to take a little bit of a different route, why did we start Fundingpartner in the first place? Just to prove to you that there's a big market. Here is just showing you some of the newspaper articles that has been over the newspapers the last couple of years. There is not enough funding for companies. I normally don't have to say more than that, and people believe me because you guys might have felt it yourself. The other side is, what type of businesses is it even worse for? Because if you look at businesses, there are big companies. They can go and get funding in the banks, and the small ones that are also in a lot of problems and trouble. But the ones we are focusing on are the ones in the middle, small and medium-sized companies. And they tend to not get a lot of attention, either from media or from the banks. But if you look at the numbers in the bottom, we have more than 100,000 companies with employees between 5 and 249 people. So basically, the majority of the companies that we have in Norway are small and medium-sized businesses. Those are the companies that Fundingpartner wants to address. And then on the other side, if you're sitting here not with a business, you might be an individual with a bit of money. And if you go to your bank and you save your money on a savings account, this graph from Holberg just shows you what the bank does to your money. So if you assume 1% return on your savings account, after 20 years, you will basically halve your money. So unless you invest your money that you have sitting on your savings account, it will disappear because there is inflation, there is formueskatt, and there's also taxes on your interest. So basically, I'm just telling you to do something about your money that's laying under the mattress or your savings account. And I think one great idea is, of course, to look into crowdfunding and also crowdlending. And this is basically not something that the two rows in the front has invented. It's huge in the rest of the world. So that's why we decided to kind of start within the lending space for businesses. I've shown you a version of this before. Simply told, you have companies on the one side who want to borrow money, and what happens today is that they go to the bank, they ask if they can get a loan, and a lot of the cases, Sparebanken Midt-Norge or DNB and many of the other banks are saying, yes, you can get a loan, but I require a guarantee from your personal house. And maybe you ask your husband or your wife, and she says, no, I don't want to guarantee the house just because you want to have a loan to your business. And in those cases, you still might have a great business that you're running, and we could potentially provide you with a loan from the crowd. And the model works same way. You have to pay down on your mortgage. You do it through our platform, and then each month you pay down a little bit and you pay interest, and our platform distributes that money to all the investors, just as the bank would have done. So with that said, here are a couple of examples of type of loans that are the typical categories that we look for. The left column is growth companies. So gasellebedrifter, you might be winning the award being in DN as a gasellebedrift, but you go to the bank and you ask for a loan, and the bank says you're growing too fast. You're doing too great. And in those cases, you could potentially get a loan from us. Also real estate, we do top financing. The bank might give you 50% financing, but we could give you 50 to 70 on top, and then you have 30% equity. So as a privatperson, you get 85% funding typically, but the businesses only get 50%. So that type of top financing we can do, and also acquisitions and so on is type of segment that lending works perfectly for. So going towards the end, this is my favorite slide because it shows why our model is superior of the banks. On the left side, you have a traditional banks. They might give you 0.5% on your brukskonto, your checkings account. They turn around, and if they decide to lend, often they don't, they could charge 12%. Basically, we can do it we can give you 7% return instead of 0.5% after fees and after losses. And at the same time, we can actually lend out cheaper. And why can we do that? If you double click on the top part, you see all the cost items that a traditional bank have. Here are all the cost items that a platform like us have. And we don't have capital requirements like the banks, and we also don't have bank infrastructure and old IT systems from the 80s, which basically give us a huge advantage that we can then be much more leaner and meaner and give you cheaper loans and better returns. This is the return you would have gotten if you invested in the biggest platform in the UK within lending. You're basically getting 6-7% return after losses and after fees. These returns are stock returns with the variance of debt. So that's why it's so popular in the UK, because that type of returns, it's very hard to find with that risk. So why should you come to Fundingpartner? And the reason is the way we do the credit checking. We basically first do a quick check that the company has been running for 2 years. They make at least amount of money. They're profitable, have to be in Norway. Then we run them through our own credit model with a team with banks experience, and we run it through the credit committee. So if you go to us, you have loans that are already pre-approved and that we're basically stamping. Yes, you are still taking the risk, but at the same time, if we approve companies that are going bankrupt, you will never come back again. So for us, it's all about being in the same boat as you guys. There's the team. I think I'm running out of time. So go to Fundingpartner, check out. We have information about the team and more info if you're interested. Thank you.
That's a